and where it really just stopped.
That's it.
My hand shakes too much. And do drinks. What are you gonna do? Cool. Well, I'm ready to dive right in.
We got no questions.
Look at that. And that was fun, everybody. I will see
Thank you. Have a great weekend. You've been a great audience.
It's funny. You say weekend. It's so funny. I'm so used to hearing like weekend. Like it's all just like one big, like the way you say weekend. It's like, oh, it's this weekend.
That's because Aussies are lazy with their language. Weekend.
Yeah, weekend. But it was funny when you said like weekend. It's interesting how the English language butchers a bunch of that stuff. Like breakfast was originally when you wake up, you break your fast because you're fasting as you sleep. We just call it breakfast. All right. And right on cue, we have the questions rolling in.
John, I have 2 variations of product A and 3 variations of product B. One variation of product B is getting all the conversions and impressions.
This seems like last week's question.
We have 2. No, that just appeared today.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Alrighty. I remember talking about this last week.
Yeah, I remember something similar. We have 2 main competitors. One sells a lot of product A, other sells a lot of product B. We are selling both and targeting both products. We are cheaper, but only able to move product B.
Mm-hmm.
We know competitor is running PMax for product A and doing well. I have a feeling there's more coming. Should I make a new asset group or new PMax campaign for product A?
So this is actually a discussion that we just had internally here. Each time we hop on our lives, we actually come from a 2-hour internal kind of open topic discussion called John Brain Transfer, where I just give my thoughts on things. And it was, but you left earlier. Oh, okay, got it. So Joan just confirmed that it was the same topic, but still more information. So here's what I would say is interesting right now. Other question, Joan, is when you say the competitors sell out of product A, do you know what the ad spend is for them? Because what it could be is simply the algorithm rewarding a high ad spend advertiser and not allowing his campaign or her campaign to simply just tank unless you also start to get very aggressive as well. And perhaps what I would say is it could be. Now, here's what I mean by this is it could be that your first click is going to work better. Now the remarketing and the conversion path that people take afterwards, just ignore for right now, because that's just going to be all sorts of wackiness. But what I mean is, it's something you could do is if you have 2 product variations and are they in the same campaign or are they in separate campaigns? Because if they're in the same campaign, we might be, he has much higher ad spend than us. Okay. And is your 2 products in the same campaign or different campaigns? What I would say is a good test is to split those into 2 different campaigns and see if you can make a push. Because your first click and your first introduction to a user is going to be pretty safe. Like you only have that product active and you only have that ad spend going to that product that's active. I can't tell from just this type of interface that we have here how much your campaign is spending on product B more than product A, which means like, is it trying to target more people with product B because target A it might be too competitive and maybe not have a good ROAS and maybe not be able to maximize conversions as well as product B because of the competitiveness. Both products are in the same PMax campaign. I would split them out, try to make a push on the other product that's not selling for you and see if you can start to make some headway. Because right now I think you have a high selling spending competitor leaning in the same algorithm that you are for a product that's doing well, and you're just not going to win. Google's just not going to allow you to win because they're the same product on the same network, but he's just crushing you with ad spend. We did this. Go ahead. Glenn?
I was just going to say you could also run a standard shopping campaign on product B and push hard on that.
I was going to say, that was the next thing I was going to say is, or build out like a full, almost account build to it. So a DSA with that dynamic ad target, a broad match keyword, go into that final URL for that keyword, a YouTube campaign, all of the stuff that you would normally do for both products, doing that for that one product with just smaller amount of ad spend. But at least you're focusing on it and you're trying to diversify.
Yeah, you're not leaving it up to the black box to do everything for you.
Right. The simple thing is just put that product to a different campaign and push. See if you can actually earn some of that, because you're using the same tool that they are. And now all you're doing is just becoming more of a direct competitor to them, which means a little more equal playing field. Which, if that product is already selling, you should be able to buy that market share, I guess I would say. And if not, then try to diversify and find out which channel works best for you. How do you optimize listing groups? Oh man, it's like you were a part of our meeting this last hour, which is great.
Oh, by the way, there's 80 Sol 8 employees all comatose in front of their computers now with their mouths open.
Yeah, it was a pretty advanced lesson. We went through identifying conversion paths, and it's not something you can even cookie cutter. It's literally just a way to identify what's working and what's not, and where to put that ad spend, regardless of what Google says. Just basing it off of what people have a normal tendency to do when they buy. But listing groups, when you're talking about optimization of listing groups, it's kind of a last step of the sequence. So you can't really optimize a listing group per se. You can do feed optimizations, which will optimize the products of that listing group. What is a bigger question is, who is that listing group showing those ads to, and on what channel? A listing group can run on search, YouTube, GSP, discovery, display. It can run anywhere a PLA ad, but also shopping. It can run everywhere but search. And it can run a cold or warm traffic and remarketing, and even brand. So your listing groups is basically saying, hey, how do I optimize 6 out of 7 Google channels? That's not the question I think we would start with. What we may want to start with is, if we're talking about optimization, that comes before all the structure and setup that has your listing group shown to a user. You can have the most beautiful piece of gold bar for like $5, but if you show it to an audience that has no idea what it is and doesn't want it and doesn't have the money to buy it, it doesn't matter how good your listing group is. So it's audience based primarily, is what I would say is the challenge there. So what I would look at is trying to interpret where those ads are showing. You could be doing a lot of shop remarketing on YouTube, and your listing group is still there. So take a few steps back, in my opinion, look at who you're targeting, what channels they're running on, what the CPC is there views also that's taken over those impressions, because views are also impressions that are also in your listing group. So those impressions do happen on YouTube, even if they're just videos, because that's technically a shopping ad on YouTube. So just understand that is a bulk. And as soon as you can kind of identify in your mind, oh, no, this isn't my shopping ad in PMax. This is everything in PMax but search. Now, search is kind of included in there because your search and your shopping usually show up side by side. So that you're not necessarily going to be able to optimize your listing group. You have to optimize for your audience and your kind of a whole campaign structure first, including other channel traffic, because other channel traffic that brings a user to the site from, let's say, Facebook, your listing group is going to use a display ad to remarket them dynamically, and that's a listing group impression and click and conversion now. So optimizing for your conversion paths and understanding the flow of that traffic will then tell you, aha, if this is the case, if I have a lot of ads on another channel that's driving a lot of cold traffic, and I don't really have much search insights, which means I don't really have a lot of inbound, I don't really have any views, but I have a ton of impressions in my listing groups, must be doing more dynamic remarketing. Now what? Maybe you kill PMax. Maybe you start a dynamic remarketing, you limit that spend, and then you take the lion's share of the ad spend and run different campaigns that are cold. So that's the kind of thing that we have to think about, is why are those ads getting impressions and to who? That will tell you then what you need to do with those listing groups.
We just spent an hour and a half on that question. That's a really hard question to answer. How do you? There's just so many factors and variables to take into account there.
Yeah, it's different for every client.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hard to, if there's another person that says, here's how to optimize, I would be speculative, because that's what they did for that one client that one time. But it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Yep. All right. How to DIY $1.99 super chat.
Hey, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Big picture. What do we got here? No. Boris. What is going on? Clickety click. Boris Love. Big picture. What excites you, scares you in GA for 2023?
There's a new campaign type coming out that's supposed to replicate what PMax was going to do originally before it fell into it's just shopping with remarketing.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Yeah, we only heard about that.
I know we're under an NDA with Google, so I can't provide any additional data, but there's a new campaign type coming out that is designed to warm up traffic and not be really conversion heavy, but be more dynamic prospecting and warming, which is really cool, because that's what everyone wants PMax to be. And PMax did that for like a month. And then it found out, well, this channel works well, and then it just optimized towards that. So then we thought, okay, well, what's that? It's like, it's your brand. It's your brand on inbound search. Well, crap, don't do that. Well, too bad. That's what the campaign's designed.
What do you do, Google?
I know. And so what's interesting is there's a new campaign type that's going to be coming out that is, I'm really excited for that. That if my brain's spiraling out of control, where I might just run brand remarketing and warming ads and crank that thing up initially. But who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Could be 1 month, could be 6 months from now. Who knows when it's going to come out? They didn't tell us. But what scares me is Google reps, they scare me. They keep trying to mess everything up. Just kidding. One thing that scares me, though, is I think it's not really a scare, I guess I would say. I see a troubling sequence in the future with more and more automation. Measuring ROAS is the biggest mistake you could do. And I know that it's going to sound really, really stupid to a lot of people who are like, what? Measuring the best thing in my campaign is stupid. But measuring only ROAS is stupid. What I mean by that is everyone's seen that your PMax campaign can have a 10x return if it targets inbound brand search because you spend $100,000 a day on Facebook. That's bad. What everything in Google is designed to do is to get you the best ROAS. That doesn't scare me because we've already figured that part out. It's troublesome that that's happening, and I think that Google is going to end up shooting itself in the foot because they're going to have another year of people kind of catching on to what's going on and then abandoning it, and I don't know what violent reaction is going to happen from that. For a quick example, we had one client in one industry that's not a big spend client. When you talk about the industry, our next competitor up spends 6 times more per month than us. We had a 500% ROAS. We're spending a good amount of money per month. Couldn't really get that great a placement, though. Our competitor went on to PMax with us and hurt our campaign quite badly. Our CPCs went up, our CPA went up, our new customers went down. I mean, all of a sudden it was just like someone just hacked off our campaign at the knees because a lot of our competitors all of a sudden just jumped right on PMax. I know this is true because a rep that we have said, hey, just by the way, your competitors also moved on to this. So if you see a decline in your performance, that may be why. So I went back to standard. And I took them back to standard. What was interesting is because I couldn't compete back then when we were both on standard, my cost per click was $30 on standard shopping. That's the competitive industry that we're in. When they moved to PMax, less than 8 months later, I went back to standard shopping and my CPCs are $4 and $3, and I'm beating them in placements because they're on PMax. I'm not. I'm bidding for placement. They're bidding for audience on PMax. Probably getting a really good ROAS because there's a very large company with really good LTVs. But are going to wake up one day and said, wait a minute, we scaled this thing up and no new customers came in, but our ROAS is still good. And then they're going to become my competitor again. So that's what I'm saying. That's what scares me is there's a massive shift. We identified it early and said, whoop, going this way. Everyone else is going to find out and then do it back to that way. Is standard shopping going to be there anymore? Who knows? Is manual going to be there? Who knows? Is placements going to be there? Who knows? Is Topics API going to roll out and kill everything? Who knows? So if nothing major changes, we're already a year ahead of everyone else. So my 2023 is going to look great. But everyone else's 2023 is going to maybe look a little bit like Google doesn't know what it's doing and it doesn't work and it's lying. But my ROAS looks good and I don't know why. And now we're just going to get a massive upset in the market. So that's what I'm predicting.
Classic example of what you just said was what we just spoke about. You're running through that account and you were saying, see all those campaigns? I'm getting 100% ROAS. Now, anyone who looked at it go, well, that's ridiculous. But then you look at the MER and go, look how much money we're making them. That's, I think, you've hit the nail on the head there. People look at ROAS. That's it. That's all they're looking at. That's all they care about is ROAS.
Yeah. And what Glenn is talking about is a client that my first sales were $12. And then within 30 days, my second sales were 10 grand. My ROAS in that campaign is barely at a 1. Sometimes we get a 0.75 as I'm spending 100 grand a month getting $12 conversions. And I'm paying like $3, $4 clicks. My ROAS is horrible. But my LTV on these people are amazing. Now, my one automated campaign, though, has a ROAS of 4. Everything else is a ROAS of 1. But my campaign that has a ROAS of 4 is only 1/10 of the spend. It's a very, very small amount of my spend because it's going after the repeat buyers. So that campaign has the highest amount of ROAS, but is my worst performing campaign. That's my insurance policy. So that's why it's really interesting. ROAS is not necessarily indicative of actual success. It's a point in time when a certain person made a purchase. That's all it tells you.
We better move through these. They're starting to mount up. Any insights, cool stuff you see in betas from Borislav? I think
answer that one. Can't tell you yet, but as soon as I can. Yeah. Let everyone know.
Okay. But yeah, howdy. Do PMax campaigns ever die and just need to be restarted, like one that's been running great for months and then without edits just plummet? Does a restart help? How else would you repair?
Abir, that's what, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, Abir. But what you may have seen what I just explained is that potentially a lot of your competitors also hop down the PMax bandwagon, and depending upon what you're selling, what they're selling, you're now sharing a new user. So my opinion would be, if that is the case, try to identify that. Who are your competitors? What are they spending? How similar to products? SKU, even GTIN, if those are the same. And how would you differentiate yourself just by dumping in more cash like Google wants and only focusing on ROAS like Google wants? That's what I was saying. But yeah, I've had one that has died. Now, if you're talking about died, like in terms of my ad spend went from $20 a day down to $1, different conversation. If you're talking about the ad spend has been about the same, but the conversions died, that's step 2. And if last thing is, if it dies after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that's normal. You just shot through your whole pipeline of warmed up traffic. It's got to regenerate.
Our creative. YouTube ads, 81,000 views, 2 months, 78% played to 30 seconds, added YouTube audience views after 60 days, 0 conversions, keep going, targeting, affinity plus in market, highly relevant based on historical data.
Couple questions. 1, are you using a Google tag as your conversion action, or are you using analytics? 2, if you're using ads, do you have enhanced or engaged view conversions? 3, if very little has changed in the last 2 months, has your MER gone up, which means your direct and organic has actually had more impressions and clicks and sales with not a whole bunch of different things going on? I have a lot of YouTube campaigns that have basically they're like 1 or 0 conversions, but then you look at everything else and everything else is rising, and then the Amazon sales doing twice as good. So check everywhere you can that and think about the conversion path. When someone sees your ad on YouTube 3 times, what do they do next? Do they Google the brand? Possibly. Do they click? I don't click on it. Not a lot of people click on ads. Funny that we all run YouTube ads though. But if they don't click, because a 78% play to 30 seconds makes me think that your ad's only about 40 to 45 seconds long, I would imagine. I'm guessing. Let me know if I'm off there too. But if you have a 30-second commercial, you got 30 seconds to get those people to skip, or people to buy. If you're not using a conversion-based bidding strategy, that's normal. If you're using the conversion-based bidding strategy, something may be wrong. Like if you use a CPM or CPV model, you may not get conversions. Google's not going to optimize towards conversions. They're optimizing towards what you want to pay for to get those audience members. So That's another part that we'd have to look at. Here's a good rule of thumb. I only count conversions if I'm running Google Tag Manager, have enhanced or engage, keep saying enhanced, having engage view conversion set to 30 days. I'm using an automated bidding strategy like maximize conversions or maximize conversion value. What else? I'm not targeting TVs because those people are not going to click and buy. That's on a TV. They don't grab their clicker in 30 seconds back. Buy now. They just don't do that. So let's talk about those 4 first, and drop in the chat if you can the answers to those questions there.
Just to reiterate on that too, with YouTube, we kicked off some campaigns with one of our clients, and as you know, YouTube is just, even if you've got Northbeam, they set up post-purchase surveys, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We looked at the numbers on YouTube and went, they look all right. He said, let me check the post-purchase survey. YouTube, scale.
Yep. Actually, you know what's funny?
Surveys. That's where you're really going to get the benefit for a YouTube campaign.
Yep. Let me do something here too. Here's a really great thing to see. I think I can get by. Okay. Yeah. Let me do this. I'm not going to take long at all, but let me do this here. Sorry, I'm trying to color something out because I want to drop this in. You're going to laugh when you see this. Okay, there we go. All right. Can I share screen? I can, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me share. Okay. Go ahead and click on that screen share, and hopefully everyone can see this here. Oh, look at the best Google Ads agency.
Oh, hey, how did they do that?
Oh, wow, it's magic. So here's what I wanted to share with you, though. This is a campaign for a client, or this is a client, only a 30-day snapshot in time, and we only run YouTube. That's the only thing that we do, just YouTube, no Facebook. They have traffic that comes from their Facebook, like organically, but we don't run any paid Facebook. But here's what's interesting, is when you notice this here, the sales by social source, YouTube got a little bit. It's up 227% this last 30 days. Facebook made its first sale ever. My sessions, my direct is up 43%. My direct traffic is worth 35 grand. My social, which is just YouTube, is worth 2,407. So what's interesting here is they made like 44 grand, and YouTube, which we spend $250 a day on, is only responsible for $2,500. And these are $40 products. So what's really interesting here is YouTube working? Yes, but to measure it, when I said MER, your search is up. We don't have a brand campaign. The direct traffic is up. The only thing we're running is YouTube. So how are we experiencing massive month-over-month growth from all channels if let me stop sharing here. If YouTube wasn't working like Google said. Google said, it's not working. Just same thing though. We originally found us from post-purchase surveys. We were running a PMax. PMax was kind of heavy on YouTube side, and like 50 out of the 62 post-purchase surveys says YouTube. So exactly right. YouTube is the unsung hero that will never measure well, but you have to look at everything else.
Yep. Joan has followed up with a couple more on his previous question. He has a much higher ad spend than us.
Yep, we already saw that one.
Both. Yep. Oh, yep. We've done that. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, only product B is spending. We sold almost nothing of product A, so all the budget is product B.
Yep. All confirms kind of what we were originally talking about.
When you say another campaign, PMax or standard shopping?
First PMax, then everything else if PMax fails too.
Action optimization is primary conversion source is website. Status is recording conversions. I manually counted it and counted 15 orders from Google, but Ad Manager counted 9 conversions.
Yep. This is why ROAS is also not a good indicator of success.
Is this conversion like this was Black Friday?
I wouldn't say it's conversion lag. Google's missing conversions more and more and more. That's why emergency GA4 came out. And it's still not tracking conversions really well, which is why I think emergency topics API is coming out. So what was interesting is ROAS, again, and conversions are missed. Partially one of the reasons why I'm okay with a low ROAS is because I have a high MER and I can scale it. So one thing that I would say is if the conversions that are happening are not seen by your account, enhanced conversions has helped a bit, not that much, but analytics, Shopify, Google Ads, there's been more and more conversions coming in the direct channel than anything else. I think privacy restriction device and that kind of stuff is starting to eat away at Google more than they're letting on, which is also why I really don't want to talk to Google reps anymore when they ask me to throw a T-ROAS on. I'm like, oh, for half the conversions you guys see? So, yeah, there's that. But I think that I don't think it was conversion lag. I measure my accounts by MER. And then I identify a baseline MER to a baseline CPA or ROAS, and I measure effectively. A 200% Google means a 400% globally. Cool. If I scale, as long as I stay at 200%, I should get a 400% globally, and that's what we've done. We haven't had conversions on. It also could be something with the code. I'm not saying it's Google's fault, but there could be I'll give you a crazy example. We saw that the confirmation page of an existing client loaded in 16 seconds. The front end loaded in 2 seconds. The back end loaded in 60 seconds. And GA4 set up their GTM. This could be potentially, Joe, a site speed issue. I've had this again because I went through this for 14 or 15 days. We finally found, oh crap, the code's loading too slow before people exit. What it was was that people were making it to the confirmation page, and once it's like, thanks for your order, they hop off. Well, 14 seconds later is when the code actually fires all the codes in the back end, and the purchase conversion was in the footer of the confirmation page that loaded last. So I can't diagnose here, but that would be a next area for me to check. Is that conversion firing each time? Maybe use Tag Manager.
In
preview mode, make a test purchase, and hop off quickly. Yeah, see if that load is missing that firing.
Amaya, do you still hyper-segment in PMax? For small to moderate budgets, it takes quite long to get valuable data to make decisions by audience signals.
Yep. So funny. I've been seeing a trend. We just talked about this in an hour ago too. Here's what we noticed. And this is going to change everyone's thought process on asset group and listing groups and signals. So Google just splits impressions by asset group. The signals that originally I think were a lot more effective is because PMax was new. As PMax becomes self-aware, like Skynet, it starts to do whatever it wants. And so what happens is it's a conversion-based bidding strategy that now ignores signals because that page with that keyword works better. So now your signals are just floating out there like polite suggestions that are being ignored because the conversions are stronger than what the signal is. If you had a bidding strategy that says optimize towards audience type, okay, then I think signals would be great. But it says ignore whatever that happens and just simply go after what converts. So now our signals are junk. So what I found though is that the asset groups are being completely split an equal amount of impressions, but the conversions and clicks are different. Here's what I mean. If you have one asset group and 100 people, 100 impressions, that one asset group gets 100 impressions. If you had 100 impressions and 2 asset groups, each asset group gets 50 impressions, give or take 5. And it's not exactly equal, but there's an equal distribution. 3 asset groups and 100 people, 33 each. So what ends up happening is the asset group signals are now more ignored. The final URL of that asset is now primary because DSA and conversions means that page to that audience does better or does worse. That's going to be the first thing to look at. But what I've seen as a good way to optimize this is to actually start to consolidate your signal, but still keep a higher amount of asset groups. But your asset groups now are ad heavy. That's where the weight's coming in, which means if I had 100 people and 4 asset groups, I'm going to use the same signal because it doesn't really mean anything anymore. And I'm going to take those 25 people each and pump it into 4 different asset groups because that equals that 100 that we're talking about. But I'm testing different ad copy and creative in each one of those asset groups. And now I'm taking, and I know this is true because if you look at your and if you look in your insights, you're going to find that if you have 10 asset groups, every single search category matches to 10 asset groups. It's equally fed. So there's no difference there. It's not like, well, these people that search this with this audience signal go better in here, like originally was sold to us. And I'm saying sold because we were lied to. It was a used car salesman, Google. So now what happens is because the impressions get equally distributed, now you can kind of identify what search terms to what ads and what asset groups kind of at least convert the best. You're optimizing your own way towards conversions by simply updating your asset group ads and imagery and video and landing page, not the signal. You can pretty much delete your signal. That's why feed only works. God, it's funny how feed only with no audience signal just disproves that audience doesn't mean anything anymore. So that's what's really interesting about this whole thing is we've just simply identified what happens when a user gets to PMax, and then so, okay, now where can we control? And it's actually been ad groups, and I've been finding that after I started updating some of the imagery and the ad copy, and Google just started to have that scenario take place more often, to which a specific person always kind of is found in that specific asset group by the clicking conversions, you can identify, okay, what's a constant? Good search term, good asset group performance, and that's the lion's share of the impressions and clicks and conversions. So now, how do you make that asset group work better towards that search term? And then you can kind of start to optimize your ad copy.
Have you noticed inside the insights, inside Performance Max, remember in the early stages, they'd say, hey, these audiences that we think have got this index, and then we go, oh, yay. Now it says, we've noticed these audiences, we've optimized it for you. You don't have to do anything. Oh, okay.
I know.
Thanks, Google.
It's almost like, like watching through the window at a restaurant and then making the food. It's like, hey, this is what we're doing here. You can't control anything. It's like, okay, I guess I'll eat that too, Google. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we've identified these audiences. Yeah. You don't have to do anything. Oh, okay.
What's funny is Google is trying to get rid of everyone. They're trying to get rid of the advertisers. They're trying to get rid of the agencies. They just want you to give me your website, give me your credit card, and we'll take it from here. And that would have been amazing if they didn't focus on ROAS. That's why we'll still have a job.
All right, Hassan. Hey, can you please suggest a currency conversion hack, something on GMC, where we want to use one English feed to show ads in countries with different currencies? Cheers. Something on GMC.
I know what the problem is, and I've never been able to solve for it. Now I'm trying to think if I can solve for it. What? Why would you only want to use? Well, here's what I'm saying: is you can copy and paste an English feed and simply change the currency, and then upload that to Google. But I'm trying to figure out why that would be hard, and why that wouldn't be the answer.
It's not really a hack, though. It's just a feature.
It's just the way to do it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't really have a hack because Google's not set up to do that. You can't. It's not physically possible. But a simple way to do it would just be to clone that. I mean, start a Google Sheet, use that as your feed, then clone it. It's Control A, Control C, Control V, then boom, new feed. I mean, you're gonna have to change the currency, but yeah, you're gonna have to do that.
Borislav, EVC has been live for some time now. What are your thoughts on its impact?
Engage view through conversions? So I guess that's what you're talking about. I absolutely love it. It actually confirmed what we already knew at Northbeam. So that was actually really cool. Half of our conversions for Solutions 8 are EVC. Sorry, dyslexia. Just kidding, I don't have that. I'm just stupid. But that's the thing is EVC is actually, we all knew that. That's the reason why I use MER. So I find it to be so brilliant, and I love it so much because view through conversion shows 0, but engage view conversions like, oh, that's 27. I'm like, oh, thanks. Why didn't view through conversion caption? That's got less of a restrictive threshold. One thing that I actually think is really cool though is check out your EVC in PMax, and then use that to dictate if you should push hard or less hard in YouTube, or more or less hard in YouTube remarketing. Remember, PMax EVC also has cold and remarketing in there. So don't trick yourself into thinking cold traffic YouTube's really performing well. It could be that a remarketing ad on YouTube inside of PMax is working well because they were going to buy anyway. That's a EVC, which means, hey, this person on their way to go buy from you, I showed them an ad. I win. Like, yeah, they didn't click on it. I showed it to them on the way to the cart.
And also, too, most of the time when you're setting up a conversion action inside Google Ads, by default, the EVC, Google goes, oh, 3 days is enough. No.
Right. How do I make myself look really good? Really fast. Yeah.
Dave, have you had any success pushing back only qualified leads to PMax through Gclid and getting less junk?
So I have, well, I guess that's a lie. No. It looked better. Here's what happened. I went from 100 leads that I dropped off at my client's front door. 95 of them were bad, 5 were good. And I said, awesome. So I started doing OIC. And I got 5 real conversions instead of PMax. I still sent 100 junk leads to the client, though. I just didn't count them. So, no, here's my issue with as an agency. No one is going to pay me to send them spam for 3 or 4 months while Google figures this out. They're not going to stay around. Then we're an expensive agency, so it can't be like, hey, trust me, tell your sales team that those 100, there's some diamonds in there for you. They're just going to fire me. Yeah, like there's some good leads in there. Trust me, just weed through the junk. Like, and how much is this? Like, hey, it's like $3,000 a month from just me. So yeah, it's a bad idea to do that if you're not running it yourself. If you're your own department, you own the company, you're okay weeding through the spam, you've identified the spam, then it's worth it, and you can wait the 3 to 6 months it's going to take Google to ignore 95% of the conversions it sees, then for sure, I think it can absolutely work. I'm not in a position to test it, though.
Don Lisa, our best-selling product is part of a PMax campaign. We have a new version, same product, that uses an app to show as you build with a different SKU and name placed in the same PMax, new asset group.
I would do an entirely different campaign. PMax, again, remember, you're gonna take warm traffic, cold traffic, other channel traffic, and then attribute to Google's interpretation through data-driven how successful it was. And then try to make a data-driven decision off of that into how to spend money differently. And all of that data is going to be halfway built. For example, if a person originally came in off of a 1 campaign click on your original product and then was remarketed with this new asset group because it's shiny new sexy, and we know that Google is going to take some dividend of your existing audiences that you're going to find you anyway and give it to that, and it's going to earn credit for it. Was it more popular, or was it a shift? Would cold traffic work the same as brand new? All that is to be said is it's very hard to identify the actual use case of that. I would try to separate it at least in a different campaign. They're still going to jump. They're still going to jump back and forth from each other. So you're still going to have that remarketing issue. But if you have a different campaign, you can at least identify the inbound search traffic on both search and shopping. And then you can also identify the remarketing and then compare that to a campaign that does not have that product in there and make your adjustments there. Just know that changing one campaign will have an effect on their campaign depending upon the overlap between those two. So just because one may look better doesn't mean that the other one is performing worse. It just means that the conversion path has changed now and is reattributing differently. So don't use that to kill one, only use it to see if you can scale the other.
Joan, is the optimization score a telltale sign of performance, or ignore? Our score keeps going up and down.
Ignore it. It's absolute junk. It doesn't mean anything. It's basically how much can Google allow, how much will you allow Google to run your campaigns for you and pay them the most amount of money regardless of what happens to your account.
Yeah, what I love about those optimization scores and the recommendations, they always try and slip in, oh, we think you should add this thing here. And you go, oh, okay. They always try and slip something in. They go, oh, give me more money, please.
But yeah, it's like, hey, if you use a T-ROAS at 425%, you can actually capture 17 more conversions. So I'm like, awesome. And I hit view recommendation. And it's like, would you like to apply it? I'm like, well, what are you applying? Applying this will add a T-ROAS at 425% and change your daily ad spend from $100 a day to $8,000. I'm like, no.
No, that's right. Would you go from 100 to 8,000?
I know, it's like $8,000 more for 17 conversions. How can I not?
What I've loved recently is we think there's going to be an increase in demand in the next 18 days. Would you like to spend more? No.
You mean my profit margin is going to stay the same, but I'll work harder for the same amount of money?
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
We launched Facebook ads about 5 weeks after PMax. We ran into account issues. Will this negatively impact Google because Facebook is a new ad account and gathering data?
If you launched Facebook ads 5 weeks after PMax and you ran into account issues, did Facebook send any traffic and how much? Then I'd be able, if it didn't really run, then Google hasn't seen it at all. Google's just going to remarket to all traffic. Now, also though, if your Facebook ads launch and it's a lot of bad traffic, Google may go down because it's taking some sort of your daily ad spend dividend and trying to go remarket those people that weren't really that interested and they say, well, that didn't work. And if you're launching PMax, it's going to show YouTube ads, which means you're going to pay per view, whether they click or not. So an uninterested audience that simply just sees an ad comes out of your pocket. So be careful about the traffic that you send to it. Quality traffic will help you just as much as poor traffic will hurt you.
John, again, since YouTube is top of funnel, we shouldn't see any actual conversions from it because people search you up later. YouTube is more brand awareness.
Not at all. I have $12 conversions at 10,000 conversions per month on Google and also 0 and everything in between. So you're simply if you identify your conversion paths, then that'll give you the answer. Are they coming back directly? Are they coming back organically? Are they searching you? I mean, plenty of places to look. Analytics, even look in Google Search Console. Last 3 weeks compared to the previous 3 weeks. Did you get more impressions and clicks on your own brand name? Did your organic channel do better? Good indicator.
Yeah, like you said, they didn't just wake up and go, oh, I'm going to search for these people now.
Right. Yep.
Amaya, when you're optimizing, what do you spend the most time on, e.g. budget, bid changes, or structures or keywords, search terms versus PMax? Well,
yes.
We could go for an hour and a half on that. Yes. Yes. Correct.
You're right. Most of the time it's budget, not that much bid, not that much keyword, not that much search terms. So I use broad more often. It's usually budget. So for search, most of the time it's budget, then bids, then negative keywords. But since I use broad, they usually perform pretty well consistently. But if it's going to be more phrase and exact, I will do more negative keyword, budget, then bids. And then also, when I say budget, I mean, what I'm talking about is, am I overspending? Is my CPA rising? Is my competitiveness are my competitors also spending too much? Do my competitors also all of a sudden drop off? What am I trying to get versus what I'm getting? If I'm talking about budget, it's usually more automated. I think manual won't compete against a broad match max conversions or even TCPA. I think that you're always going to be one step behind. But I would say is budget is usually what I spend the most amount of time on. But I usually will build a campaign out 95% efficient in the first go round, only because I've taken 2 weeks with this client and put this whole plan together through research. So it's not like I just throw up a campaign and like, all right, I hope that works. Like, this has been think tanked for 2 weeks before we even build it. So it's what I want to test for at least 6 months. So I will spend most of the time on budget.
Joey, does the Google Ads conversion tracking code capture a sale path that started with a Google ad but ended direct or organic?
But half the time, yeah. Google will say 100% of the time it's not. That's why MER that's why MER exists. MER stands for media efficiency ratio. All cash in, all cash out. Think if you had your company ROAS, everything that goes out of your company in paid ad spend and everything that comes back. Even count email, because the Facebook ad that got the click, that got the person to the site, that got the email sign up, that purchased last week came from Facebook. So that's why MER is important. But yes, Google Ads will say, if you click and then come back directly, it will count it, and it will when it can see it. And it sees it anywhere between 40% of the time and 70% of the time. It just depends on, did you start on a tablet at your house and then finish on your cell phone at Starbucks? Did Google see it? Sometimes. I know that conversion paths are 12 days long, though, and there's a good chance I'm going to miss that afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So the answer to that is no.
Sort of. Yeah, it
Yeah.
depends. Again, conversion path. You're going
Yeah.
to see a theme. Conversion path is important. That's the only thing
Mm.
you can count on.
Dave.
Hey,
Hi, guys.
Dave. Long
Dave's
time no
back.
see. You
I
know what's
know.
funny is ever since Glenn, you're here, he doesn't heckle as much because I think he
No, he
potentially hates
doesn't.
Cosm. Dave actually likes me. Thanks, Dave. It's just validating.
I could always put my wig on and then he could just go to town.
Oh, it'll just infuriate him. He just sees red.
Jason Godwin, the biz broker. All right. I asked Chasm this on LinkedIn and he suggested I ask it on this week's live video.
Sounds good.
Chasm's just gone, here, boys.
All right.
Currently, we are having trouble tracking conversions on our lead generation campaign that drives traffic to a WordPress site. Oh, there's more. We are using Go High Level as our CRM, which has been set up with the needed hidden fields for gclid and UTM parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we are not capturing gclid when a form is submitted, which is preventing our conversions from being reported to Google Ads.
Mm-hmm.
We have tried a few different scripts on the form page. We have GTM code installed on the form page. What have we missed?
Yeah, there's some issue with persistence on the site. So I would actually reach out to Go High Level and explain the situation and say, my website is not caching this in a persistence mode, which means that upon sometimes even return traffic or even as simple as changing a page, when it's stripped from the URL, it's not being cached, which means it's not being installed into the form. You're probably only capturing it when a person clicks on that, it goes to the page that has the form, that has a hidden field, and the UTM parameters are visible in the URL. Then it captures it. When you change the page, that URL changes, is no longer there. The site should be persistent, which means it should capture that information, then put it back in through the form upon a successful completion during that same or even returning session because it's cookied. But there's something wrong with the cookie and cache that it's not saving that person's data. So I would ask them about that. I couldn't help you from my side, unfortunately.
I'd be setting up Google Tag Manager and doing a preview and recording it and then just checking all the data layers.
Yeah.
Or even install that Chrome extension, the data layer check, and just see if something's dropping off somewhere along the way.
Yeah, it's site caching and persistence with the cookies is not capturing. It's almost treating the sessions new.
Yeah. Dave, John, any tips for running ads for a furniture store that has e-commerce? Goal is to get more people in the store, but online sales are good too.
I'd run a local campaign for sure. You're not going to be able to track it that well because it's like YouTube. It's like, did they see you on the map and drive there? I mean, you do have store visits, but sometimes those are, I couldn't prove them. But I definitely run a local campaign. I love those for local. I've actually heard firsthand from small restaurants like, it's changed my business. I'm seeing new people that have not been in here for ever because I'm new and I know everyone. And it's like there's always the same 27 people every single week, and now all of a sudden there's like 40 new people. So I do know it can move the needle very well. The other part, though, for an e-commerce store for furniture, I really do like standard shopping for it just because you're not going to be able to track the conversion path afterward. So again, this is where MER takes place. And I know that MER is hard when you're talking about a furniture store, but if you can identify the last 1, 2, or 3 year of in-store daily spends, identify the lift that has happened since COVID, and then see if you can accelerate that lift while also supporting good data like good conversion rates and at least a break-even ROAS on Google. If it's going to be nationwide, then pure ROAS. If it's going to be local with shopping campaigns, you might have like 17 clicks on a product and they say, well, honey, let's go. And you're never got that conversion because they drove there. So that's where you have to identify that. One good way that you could do this, though, is if you want to run a shopping campaign and then you have like a 5% off coupon code, and you can track the UTMs of the people that actually clicked on the 5% off coupon code and then downloaded that. And if they come and redeem in store with the same email address, or only show that, that page from paid traffic. Like the 5% is only visible if you click on a shopping ad and go to a different URL than what's normal on the organic traffic because it's not indexed. But then you really screw up your return traffic. So a few different ways, but it really just depends on what's an acceptable way to measure.
Yeah. What you could try and do is if you're running a shopping ad or a search ad, have something on page like a call to action, a button saying, want an extra 10% off.
Yeah.
Add a click event on a window that pops up some sort of coupon code. Take a screenshot of this, bring this in store to redeem your 10% off. You're going to capture the clicks, then you're going to capture the redemptions, and then you're going to be able to marry the two up.
Yep.
If you want people to come in to claim that discount.
Right. And then Dave said, I thought local was moved to PMax. I'm going to give you a quick hint. Remember how you do a feed only campaign? Do that with a local campaign. So when you start a PMax campaign that has the location extension stripped everything, that will give you a local campaign.
All right. We better.
10 minutes left.
10 minutes. Jason. Any use cases of dynamic remarketing working well with PMax, or should we just allow PMax to do its thing? Our feed only didn't work running with full PMax simultaneously.
Hold on. Sorry. Jason. Hey, bud. Any use case of dynamic remarketing working well with PMax, or should we just allow PMax? So no. So I've tried this many times. I actually had a company-wide test. I asked everyone to test it. Then a week later, I asked everyone to turn it off because it was really horrible. No joke. This was back in July. What ended up happening, though, is because PMax says, yes, I know the people that I'm going to dynamic remarket and convert. Oh, dynamic remarketing campaign, you get the leftovers. And that thing was just feeding off of table scraps. And we get a conversion every other week. It sucked.
Oh, especially if we're running TCPA, you just keep bumping that up and it just won't get any impressions. It's insane.
Yeah.
Amaya, how do you decide when it's good to aim for a higher T ROAS, and do you then just adjust budget in the same direction?
I actually aim for a low T ROAS. I only go after primarily new customers and cold traffic, so ROAS doesn't matter to me, only because when I'm acquiring that new customer, what do they buy? If you're talking about automated campaigns, I like a low T ROAS model because the first sale is good, but what you'd have to be able to tell me is if you acquire a new customer, how much do they spend with you in 3, 6, 9, and 12 months? Then I will tell you about the T ROAS. I usually don't. If I have campaigns where I need to hit a 3 and 4x because it's only going to be one sale, like a really expensive hammock, I will run simply max conversions, but I will adjust the spend based on that result. But my products are also $300. I can get a $100 sale. That's easy. But if you're looking at a $20 product, there's gonna be a few things there I think we'll have to discuss.
Happy to have learned MER concept from John. We need a whole video on that. Media efficiency ratio.
I think it was called How to Do CMO Level Math. It's on our YouTube channel. I'll see if I can make a new one, though.
Yeah, I think there's already something there about MER. Yeah. How are you using experiments feature for PMax?
I am not. Yeah, no, I don't like experiments. My opinion of is, again, it always goes back to the conversion path. Can you guarantee me that both of those campaigns are not sharing any users at all? Because if so, it's not an experiment.
Our creative, we'll check. Just got message that my organic is up from Search Console. I'll check on others, but feel good about ignoring 0 conversions. I believe in your bids.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you know these things, John?
I don't know. It's like I do Google Ads.
Yeah. If we want to guide PMax to mostly shopping network and remarketing that cold traffic, do you think it would help to turn URL expansion off? Any cases you recommend that for? So
URL is actually not really affecting shopping network. It means it's like if you run DSA to all web pages. That's essentially all it is. Your shopping still can only use your shopping feed, which is completely dictated by your feed link to the page. URL expansion is only exactly. Well, URL expansion only means hey, get DSA send traffic to other pages that you're not in your asset groups.
Joey Bidner, in response to my previous question on conversion path in analytics, when I see a sale start with Google Ads and indirect, should I be reporting these separate as added value, or is that included?
I see. Still start with Google and indirect. When you say should you be reporting as a separate, they're the same value. So what that means is that a path means Bob came in and clicked on an ad and then came back directly and spent $12. That's the path Bob took to make that $12. Now, if there's 2 sales, you got a Bob and a Jane. I don't know, I'm just making up names here. But that's what that conversion path tells you. It's the path that was taken before a conversion took place. So that path is where people are going when they convert.
Joan, we have enhanced conversions on.
That's from a previous question.
Yep. Right, gotcha. Amaya, do you increase budget slightly when you hit the T ROAS for the month and you don't want smart bidding to use money left on the table and ruin it?
Oh, do I increase budgets when I hit T ROAS for the month? Not necessarily. At that point in time, I'll look to see the splits between first time and returning customers. And if I have too much returning customers, I lower TROAS. So I actually kind of want to overshoot it.
Joey.
Or at least too much warm traffic, I should say.
Yeah. How accurate do you find the percentage of new customers column is to evaluate new customer acquisition? I know third-party attribution can show new customer data, but without it, the only measure I have is this.
I completely do not trust anything that Google says about new customers. It's
No.
it's so horribly bad that I'm off 150 customers in just one campaign a day. And I've actually uploaded a customer list of 4 million people. I've added it as a negative 90% reduction inside of my standard shopping campaign because you can't exclude those people. I see that I get 12 conversions from my existing customers on average per day, when in reality it's about 75. And we verify that through even by taking every single person that was actually a returning customer that we found in Northbeam and seeing, oh, this person bought in May. They bought in January too. Holy crap, these are exactly the people. So, and I brought it to Google, and Google said, it looks like it's just ignoring them. I'm like, that's your answer.
Classic example. Go into the demographics in Google Ads and go into age and sex, and you'll see male, female, unknown. It doesn't know.
Yeah,
it does not know.
So when Google says new versus returning customers, also just know that is the new customer that's new to the tag that is on your site. It's not new to you. It just means Google's like, oh, that's the first time we saw that guy buy or that girl buy. And then it's like, well, is that a new customer? It is to us. Well, that was my test purchase. You just never seen me buy something on my own site before. Yeah, it's
all right.
Yeah, I hate it.
Borislav, thank you for your thoughts as always.
Thank you, Borislav. Cool name, by the way. I hate my name. Just
Borislav.
John.
Jason, do you guys happen to watch Ed Leake's PMax video last week? Did you agree or disagree with any points there? He advised B2B should not use PMax. Sounds like you're migrating back to standard shopping too.
Yeah, it depends. There's some clients where standard shopping works better, but again, it's the objective. Is there high LTVs? Do they return on their own accord very well? Do I not need to spend too much dynamic marketing on them? Do I have a better price than our competitors? And as a CPC and as our competitors also standard shopping. So there's about like 5 or 6 things that before, and also is there too much return traffic? Is there also a subscription? And is there a lot of existing users that still search our stuff? So there's like 8 or 10 different variations that I would say is good or not good to go back to standard shopping. But I did watch Ed Leake's PMax video. I agree with most of it. There's not something I would disagree on. I think it's a different way to interpret what his experience has been. It's almost like saying who's the better, painter. Is it Picasso or Leonardo? It's like different strokes for different folks. No pun intended, because it's painting. But I think that it's on the money. I would also slightly I've had different experiences than he has, where his examples don't equate to mine. And I just think that's the beauty of Google Ads. But a lot of good things you can learn from it for sure. And it may or may not apply to you, but that does not mean it is right or wrong.
Have you got a bail at 8? Have you got a bail in 2 minutes?
No, I got some time.
We'll just go through. Okay, we won't smash through these in.
Yeah.
How often do you update client budgets during the month, and what triggers you to do so? I currently do weekly budget updates based on trending spend, but I'm wondering if there is a better way.
Yeah, it depends on if you're severely underspent. Most of the time, I make them once or twice a month. And if I'm scaling, no more than 3 times per month. Every 10 days is usually safe. Patty, what I would ask you is, what's your time lag? So what I mean by that is, make sure you have your conversion column active, which means your conversion column showing up in your main campaign view. Take your graph and change one of those red or blue lines to conversions, not conversion by conversion time, but just conversions. You get a blue line that pops up. Whatever that blue line is, that's the time period where you have to say, this is how long a change is going to take effect. And then this, after that time that I'm going to wait is how long I'm going to measure it for. So for example, a 10-day time lag means that after you make a budget change, wait 10 days and then start day 1 of measuring. So just know that that's how you can really identify that.
Ryan Afflito, what does your budget allocation look like? Currently spending 7% of budget on broad, search, top of funnel, and the other 30% PMax. Do you increase their spend in tandem when MER is performing well?
I actually have every single budget allocation you could possibly imagine. I'm not joking. I have probably 100 different ones. So it's all super dependent upon any specific customer and their exact needs. Is it CAC versus LTV? Is it ROAS? Is it retention? Is it, I mean, even if your cost per conversion or cost per acquired customer is in a positive or negative, uh, everything, honestly, everything. I usually like to focus as much as I possibly can on cold and as little as I can on remarketing, which is why PMax is becoming worse and worse and worse for me. But that is something that I would say is a good general rule of thumb. Now, do I increase, like you're saying, 70% on broad search top of funnel and the R30 PMax? You're basically doing about 80% cold, 20% remarketing is what you're doing, because about 20% of that, 15% of that, or 50% of that 30, which is 15%, is going to be about cold or maybe too warm. So account for 10 to 20% either way. But the question on I increase the spend in tandem with MER? Yes, a lot of times with an agency, we're also doing like budgeting for quarterly. Sometimes like my clients at the agency are bigger spending clients. So it's like, hey, next quarter we're going to spend 800K. I can't do anything. It's approved by board members. So I'm like, okay, thanks. And so I just use it as I see fit. But if MER is working well, I will make a recommendation to say we can see if we can start to push this. But MER is also company-wide ROAS. And then what is the CAC and LTV? And if LTV is good, maybe we don't necessarily increase or decrease the spend. Maybe we just start to force more cold. Because if MER is good and LTV is good, if I start to actually make MER look worse, but I bring in more cold traffic and my LTV stays the same, I will actually regain that MER later. So it all just depends.
You could have just said it just depends.
Yeah, I want to provide at least some examples to think about. Like, apply my blueprints to you if you can.
Yeah. Dave, I thought local was moved to PMax, John.
Yep. Strip it. Yep, it's like a feed only. So run essentially like a local campaign. Now you're still going to be competing with your other campaign types, but since local was always meant for like a $10 to $20 per day budget, maybe max, you should have a plenty of ad spend for a furniture store to be pushed elsewhere. Even standard search campaigns running broad will still eat more budget than a $10 to $15 day PMax campaign with a strict.
Jason, we have a persistent cookie install through Google Tag Manager. We can see the cookie using our Chrome extension. For some reason, the cookie data will not show up in the form.
It's weird because I've had the same exact issue, but it was always through WordPress, and we fixed it by using a persist cookie through Tag Manager. So for some reason, I almost think it might have something to do with the CMS.
Jace, BizBroker, when you get the conversion back to Google with the conversion thank you page.
Why can you get the conversion back to Google? Oh, why can't you get the conversion back to Google with the conversion code on the thank you page?
Right. Okay. We'll go to Amaya's question. Google launching a top of funnel campaign type to push more of that cheap display inventory.
Yeah, well, what's funny is YouTube's cheap display inventory, and I love it. So it could be some good. What I hate, let me just give you a quick example. Display, good, takes, in my opinion, too much time than it's worth. That's our clientele, though. YouTube, I love it. GSP, I hate it. And when GSP became part of Discovery, it killed Discovery. So I told that to Google, and they're like, yeah, I know. I thought that was kind of funny. I told them 2 different reps. They're like, well, we're actually thinking about running, we'd love to launch a Discovery campaign. And I actually have a client that's getting $25,000 this month of free ad spend for Discovery because I said I think it's junk, but I'm willing to be proven wrong if you pay for it. And we almost shut it off, and they're like, no, you actually have to spend the full 25, and we're not going to charge you. So we're leaving this stupid campaign run to probably apps and kids games that are not showing up, and Gmail opens that are not actually making it to the site. But if we spend $25,000, Google will give us $25,000 back. So I hate it. But cheap display inventory on quality display, still cheap, but also YouTube, very, very good.
Joom, should I use same audience signals for new PMax campaign for product day, same product category while using new pictures?
I'd clone it. I'd exactly clone the campaign.
Remember, audiences, Google go, oh, thank you for that. We're going this way.
Yeah, right. Exactly. all you're doing is basically say, can you please send more traffic that way?
Please.
It's so stupid.
Please. Jason, any new learnings on if feed only actually going away, or were those just unsubstantiated rumors?
I even asked everyone, I think here last week, can anybody send me anything they've ever seen? And nobody did either. I can't actually find it.
Yeah, it's the guy down the pub.
Performance men.
Mayor, to all members here, we should make a Slack channel to talk to each other. Could be fun.
Oh, God.
Could be. And this is our last one. Dave, thoughts on using responsive display ads versus high quality banner ads?
You know what's so funny is, according to Google, I would rather like responsive display ads. According to just my gut instinct, I'd rather use higher quality banner ads. Google said, well, the higher quality banner ads will only run on 70% of the inventory that we have. And the only way to run it on 100% of the inventory is if you use responsive display ads, because we made new sizes, shapes, and colors and fun stuff that you can't get to unless you use this. And I was like, well, I don't want to lose 30% of my remarketing, so fine. Now, did that equate to actual results? I didn't see it. So if that is to be the case, I would like to actually use higher quality banner ads in like HTML5. That also could work really well too. The problem is, I don't know, and we're not a creative industry, so we don't actually create any banner images. So it's been a little bit slow to test.
I ran a test. This was before DSAs came out. I created 300 by 300 square images only. Created 20 variations of it and just let them go. Pick the winner or pick two winners, and then built out all the sizes on those two winners across all the different sizes. And it worked well. All right. That's and great. James back. He's snuck in before we're about to go. Clone it while removing product B. So I focused on product A.
Yeah, I here's the thing. I don't remember well enough in this quick chat which product was which. So whatever was working in one campaign, after you clone it, leave that on. Don't turn off the one that's been working for a different product. So whatever is working, stay that still. So let's say B is working and A is not in one campaign. Clone that campaign. Keep B on, that's working. Just shut off A and start A new somewhere else because it wasn't working. So we're pulling that out, hopefully. Please, for the love of God, do not turn on the well-performing product in campaign A and then try to make that also the well-performing product in campaign B while testing A. So don't shut off anything that's working. Simply move out the product that's not working into its new campaign.
And we are done.
Hey, I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You too. See you, everybody.